Alrighty, welcome back to the podcast. Back to Tomboy Official. I want to talk about an episode. Now I'm not. So it's an episode of this one season series called Freaks and Geeks. I talked about it a little bit recently, kind of in some of the daily updates, explaining how I was kind of watching that show again. Every so often I watch it again. It's one of my faves. It's only one season, I think 18-ish episodes, maybe 17 episodes. And definitely spoiler alert, so if you haven't seen the show at all, I'm about to ruin some parts of it for you. But there's a character that is supposedly, there's no way of really telling, but according to the show, the character in the show is intersex. And so, just a basic explanation, intersex is pretty much a person who was biologically born with male and female parts, genitalia, either, internal or external sex organs. There can be kind of like a combination of things, or partial parts. And back in the day, if you want to, I think even in common day, but people were usually encouraged, parents were usually encouraged by doctors to choose a gender and say, this, they would give them their most sound medical opinion, predicting kind of what what the child could expect as far as like sexual development, physical characteristics and things, and determine, if they want the child to be more male or more female, and just pick one. So back in the day, this was kind of like a thing. And so Freaks and Geeks takes place in about, I think it's supposed to be either early 80s or late 70s. And, during that time, nobody was really talking about cell phones, things like that. Like, computers weren't like a major thing in society. Like, they did exist, but outside of things like, corporations that needed them, and some fields use computers, but not too much. Like, there was even like an episode in school where the main character, she's a high school student, and they're talking about Texas Instruments graphing calculators, and that one of them had one that could graph, and then someone else was surprised, saying like, oh, you don't have a calculator? And they're like, no, my dad's too cheap to buy me one. And in another episode, one of the kids was getting an Atari. So that's kind of like about the extent of like daily usage of computer type, devices that people would use back then. Like, it was like, yeah, functionality, and games. Like, games were like a big part with computers early on. That was kind of like more so what the younger crowd used computers for. Um, and school work, like the school had computers there. It was like with black screen, like a black screen and like a like green font color. Everything was green with a black background pretty much. And so that's about how long ago this is staged. Now I believe they say the show was recorded 1999 to 2000. There's some familiar faces. Seth Rogen. I don't know. Who's the cast? I don't know the specific cast, to be honest. I looked it up on IMDb the other day, but I think I closed the link. So let me look that up again. So let me see. I think Ben Stiller has a cameo. Let's see. Wow. So Linda Cardellini, John Francis Daly, Martin Starr, that's crazy. They all look so different. Jason Segel. I don't know how to say her name. Busy or Busey Phillips. James Franco. Lizzie Kaplan. Natasha Melnick. I said Seth Rogen already. Sarah Hagen. Shia LaBeouf had a small role. Ben Foster. Sam Levine. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole entire cast, but basically there's a lot of characters that come out that are pretty popular that you see later on in a lot of other movies and things. So one actor, the one who plays the intersex character is Amy Andrews in the show, but Jessica Campbell in real life. So that episode, let's see. I don't know what episode it is. So, yeah, episode guide. It is... Man. I don't know if it's episode 16 or 17. Let me see. I think it's episode 16 or 15. I don't know, because I don't see the names of these older episodes. So I think it was either episode like 16 or 17. So basically in the episode, one of the characters from, I guess, the Freaks group technically, he's a singer in a band that some of their friends have, and like the main character was kind of like, I guess, a good girl type, but also friendly with other types of people, and she gets kind of invited into hanging out with them. So she's part of this group that has like mathletes and a bunch of like church going types of people, no smoking, from a Republican family. Dad was in Vietnam, that kind of thing. And so she comes from that background, and the kids that she's usually hanging out with are, kind of academic and just kind of like your classic high school student that participates in school, does their schoolwork. And the show starts with her, starting to hang out with this other crowd, from previously being like really academically, kind of like studious and involved in school and has like a good reputation with like being good at math and gets good grades. And she starts hanging out with this other crew of kids that they don't get good grades. They don't really go to all their classes. Some of them are having sex. Some of them are, you know, having fake IDs and going and doing all kinds of things. And, they have cars and, a couple of them do. And, so they, they're not known for being like academically, like, focused, but they're not unable to do it. You just kind of see like where their families maybe don't stress it, or even the families that do kind of stress it. Like maybe it's the individual kids kind of, or teens kind of, inability to focus or just low motivation and that kind of thing. Some of them are involved smoking pot, cigarettes, that kind of thing. And so Lindsay, this main character, has friends that are like in other pockets of the school that these guys don't really interact with. And so she, in this episode, has a friend that kind of passes by some diner that they're at, that she's at with these guys, and her other, I guess they had just gotten done playing some band performance, so she was wearing her, marching band uniform, and comes into the restaurant with some of her band, school band members, and one of these guys starts kind of like, her and him start going back and forth, teasing each other, a little bit of banter back and forth. And, this was the singer guy in the band of all their friends. And he starts realizing, he thinks he's maybe interested in her, because that kind of first interaction, I guess he kind of liked that she was a little bit witty. And I guess his friends kind of find out, because he's kind of lurking around the room where she's practicing, inside one of the rooms one day, and one of the friends kind of sees and is like, who are you looking at? Like, what's going on in there? And he looks and sees that, this guy, the singer guy, is like, he kind of is maybe like embarrassed about it and is like, oh, like, like, I'm just making fun of them. And then the other guy's like, yeah, you're doing it by yourself? Like, nobody, like, makes jokes and, like, just teasing people just, like, by yourself. And so he realizes that he's looking at that girl who plays the tuba in the marching band. I don't know if it's tuba or sousaphone, whatever. And then, like, basically he goes and says, well, she's friends with Lindsay, so why don't you ask Lindsay to see if she'll go out with you or whatever, or you guys can meet. And so they end up going to this Laser Dome thing where one of them thought Pink Floyd was going to play, or Pink Floyd music was going to be playing while they have the laser light show going on. And then it ended up not being that. It ended up being Southern Rock Night, and, he ends up kissing her, and, they got along well. And, I guess that's the first girl that his friends have ever seen him be interested in, and he's really into her. But she one day is like, okay, well, I have this secret that, because I guess they were getting kind of involved. And she was like, yeah, I want to tell you one of my secrets. And he's like, okay, and she doesn't say I'm intersex, but she says, when I was born, I had the potential to be a boy or a girl. And he's kind of like, yeah, kind of like, didn't we all? And then she explains further, like, yeah, like, it physically, they removed some body parts. Like they didn't say, they weren't specific with that, but they were like, she was like, I'm a girl, but there's always a part of me that's kind of like relevant to that. And she didn't really say much more about it, but there was some conflict where he, his name is Ken, and he was trying to figure out, basically, is he gay? Is he, like, he tries to confide in the guidance counselor, but feels like the guidance counselor doesn't understand him because he's not gay, and he first thinks that the guidance counselor is gay, and the guidance counselor kind of has some, not too strong of a reaction, but kind of like, why would you think I'm gay, kind of thing, because I'm not. But then he doesn't really open up to him about the situation, and he basically tries to open up to his guy friends about it, two of them, and the guys in the band, and then they, I guess they were kind of just like, all right, like, but they didn't really do anything, or say anything, like they were supportive, I would say, like, kind of just like confused at first, like, what are you saying? And then like teasing him a little bit, where he's like, does that mean I'm gay? And one of them's like, yeah, it does. And he's like, oh, and then he was like, oh, I was actually just kidding, because, like, I don't know. But then he basically goes, Ken, he basically starts acting maybe a little distant from his girlfriend Amy, and she's like, I knew it would bother you, and he's trying to work through it. And at one point, she confronts him. He kind of denies that he's feeling anything or any confusion at all. And, because those two guy friends kind of know, one day when Amy comes up to Ken when he's hanging out with all his other buddies, she's like, I guess one of the guys, those two guys who he told, was like, I guess he came up to them and was like, hey guys, and then, I don't know, somebody said, hey guys, and then one of the guys kind of gives like a look, or kind of like, oh, like, sorry, I didn't mean it like that, and then he kind of punched him in the face. Ken punched his friend in the face. And then the everyone else around, the girls, the other people, were like, oh my gosh, like, what was that all about? But neither one of them revealed like what that was about. Like, nobody said anything. But it was mostly because he made that comment, hey guys, like, when Amy and Ken walked up, and then he was like, he backed off a little bit, kind of stuttered a little bit, like, oh, I didn't mean it like that, kind of thing. So yeah, he was like with the whole "hey guys" kind of thing, and trying to say like, oh, I didn't mean like I was calling her a guy, or like, and then I guess Amy thought that Ken had gone and told everybody, and which he didn't, and that was just kind of like a slip up from one of his friends. And he eventually goes and tells her, he's sorry, and she kind of realizes he didn't tell everybody. He told some people, but not everybody. And then yeah, I guess they kind of get back together, and that's kind of the end of that episode, but and almost the end of the whole series. But I guess the reason why I found that interesting is because, I mean, I've known about this episode for a long time because I've known about the show for a really long time, and I've watched it before, but I don't think I've talked about it on here. And it was kind of like, you don't really see a lot of intersex identity um, being spoken about for the most part. At least I've never really noticed it being spoken about too much. Um, yeah, you really don't see it a whole lot. And so, um, yeah, because you don't see a lot about intersex identity, it is um, an interesting, an interesting, like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I don't really like it when shows just use like a shock factor kind of thing. But, of course, I would like more developed characters. Like, this was a character that wasn't really too in the show. Comes up towards the end of the last last quarter of the show. Um, doesn't have a very in-depth character compared to another character that was pretty in-depth but wasn't really dating anybody or anything until that point. And then, so, it's kind of interesting, but at the same time, it's like there's a lot of things that they don't really touch on. They kind of just leave everything. Like, they don't talk about, sexual identity. They don't really explain the term. They don't even use this term intersex. I don't think that a lot of people maybe would understand fully what was going on in the episode. Like, I don't think it would be like 100% clear, maybe. Um, I really don't know. Like, I feel like it's really complicated in a lot of ways because you don't really see a lot of shows where there's an intersex character. Um, and you know, so I just found it interesting because it's like it it's not really like a queer show. Um, and but also, I feel like even though some of the subjects can be kind of mature, it's not the type of show where they kind of push too much conservatism, I wouldn't say, but it's also not just like trying to break all the rules. It's very kind of like realistic to like people's um people's different uh ways of living life. Um and kind of the challenges that people face kind of socially with like trying to fit in and like trying to trust people and trying to develop a sense of self and personality and things that they avoid because they don't want people to tease them, and then things that they gravitate towards because they get praise from that, or they're actually naturally good at it, or things that people might not be naturally good at and struggle with, but how they kind of are able to kind of still move forward and might be better with other things. Like for a lot of them, it's like the ones who are good at school, maybe they're good at school, but some of the social skills are a little off. And then some of them are like good with the social stuff, but not really good at schoolwork. And some characters like Lindsay, they're kind of good at both. Like they get decent grades, but they also, are able to kind of hang out with different types of people. and be accepted in different groups of people, and don't really have like any kind of like extreme reputation in either direction. But she seems kind of pulled between like, the friends who want her to do things that are a little bit against the rules sometimes, and then the friends who want her to be like strictly inside the rules all the time, and like having a competitive, lifestyle, and very focused on schoolwork and academic like lifestyle. Um and just kind of her parents trying to like figure out what she's trying to do, and her younger brother who's kind of more on the geek end of things but isn't so like socially socially having so many social problems. He doesn't really have as many social problems. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I would say, I mean, for an episode that's already done and there's no more coming out, there's like the story doesn't go past really that one episode. Like, it doesn't come up before and it doesn't come up after. No. So when it comes up, when the topic first comes up, I think there are a couple episodes where, Ken's trying to figure things out. Like, they're kind of like interacting slightly, but it's not like too deep of a theme. It's just kind of like a side story, I guess. But I don't know. Like, I think in a way it was pretty tastefully done. But I just don't know. I don't really know what I think about, you know, um, um, just that there's not a lot of intersex representation. Like, I don't know this actor. I don't know if they're actually an intersex person. Like, those are the types of things that you might never actually know. Is if, you're actually, if a person's actually intersex. Like, there are probably a whole lot more intersex people out there that, that others, like, people don't know. Maybe they don't even know themselves, in all honesty, because I could see that some parents would try to put that past their kid, or just never reveal to them that, hey, when you were a newborn, there was this situation. And especially if it's not something obvious, where they would be like noticing like any kind of scar, any kind of like physical differences. If it was like internal stuff, they might not ever really notice like fully like what is going on. But I kind of wonder what certain people, like prejudiced types of people, kind of think about these types of topics, because like, especially like homophobic people, gender phobic people, sexist, I don't know what you want to call them, just people that just don't have a lot of care for those people who have a complex gender situation. I feel like when it comes to the physical body, people might be a little bit more forgiving with the way somebody was physically born. than the way somebody has to describe that this is just how I think, this is my perception of the world, this is how I feel about things, just naturally. I feel like maybe some people would find, not that it matters if they think something's more acceptable or not, but I mean, I'm just wondering. And the reason why I wonder is because, like, I've mentioned before, I have this friend, really kind of nosy, a friend who's kind of often curious about topics related to sexuality, and I've definitely had to put, some boundaries in place with those conversations, because I kind of noticed, especially because I kind of noticed how they are, and I kind of noticed how, even when I try to, like, check in or generally talk about just, like, anything, it could be anything, about music, about, other stuff that I'm pretty passionate about, like, they don't really seem interested to talk about any of that. But, if it's something about dating or something about relationships, they'll talk about that and keep the conversation going for like a day or two. So it's kind of like really weird, and so that kind of turned me off to kind of talking to them too much, because I was like, you know what, like, this is weird. And they ask so many questions, and it's just kind of like, so I basically just started asking them questions back. Like, when they ask me something, I try to ask them questions back, just because I'm like, well, just so they can see what it's like. Like, I don't really have questions that I really want to be asking them, because I don't really care, but for some reason they really seem to want to know a lot about how I think about different stuff. And I mean, clearly they think about it, because like they bring it up out of the blue. Like, they're bringing up random questions like out of the blue sometimes, and I'm just like, where? Well, it's like, I haven't talked to you about that person for like over a week, and now you're asking me some like random question, and these are like people that they've never even met. So it's just really weird to me. So I kind of don't talk to them too much. Like, I don't not talk to them, and I don't not want to talk to them. I just don't feel any desire to continue to talk to them. Kind of more, in a way that's too detailed about kind of my own life. But yeah, every now and then they kind of just get curious on that level about those types of topics, and I'm kind of just like, whatever. I feel like they could probably better spend their time by, figuring it out for themselves. Like, I don't think they need me to answer like my own personal explanation of what I would do in scenario A or whatever, But I do think, something that came up with that person, they, when I told them, and this isn't even the same topic, but when I told them once that, I'm open to dating trans people, and they were kind of like weirded out by it at first, and I was kind of like, because they're in a way they have some capacity to kind of think things through, and I was like, well, I kind of asked them the question. I threw a question back at them, because I know that they're, trying to date and wish that they kind of had a relationship with somebody, like, not anybody in particular, but like they kind of want things to go in a direction where they have some serious, solid, long-term, that they're in a couple, they want that for themselves. And so I was like, well, what would you do, if you met a woman, who you really liked, and because I know this person, because I know that they're not just, not really like a playboy kind of guy, like they're not really like only there to kind of like hook up with women. Like of course, he seems like that's what he wants to be doing all the time, but um, I think that's not really what he, is gonna be doing. Um, in reality, like even if he's dating someone, there's no guarantee that they're gonna be like sleeping together and stuff. Um, and that's fine, I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that's just how things go with this person. And um, I was like, well, what if you were dating a woman, you met somebody, let's say online or whatever. You meet someone, you actually have a really good connection, you really like this person, um, and you've been going out for like quite a few months, and maybe things never really got physical, and they never really revealed to you, but you know, you guys end up hitting it off, and you end up liking her, you end up asking her out, and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, she mentions like, hey, I'm a trans woman. Like, how would you feel? Like, would you still want to date her, or would you not date? And this person didn't know. They were like, I don't really know like what I would do or how I would feel. And I'm like, okay, well then, it's like, it's kind of hard to know exactly every type of scenario. Like, it kind of depends sometimes. Like, there's a lot of factors involved sometimes. It's like, but I mean, I remember there was a point when I was a long time ago, where I would say things like, I wouldn't want anyone who's gay to be interested in me, or I wouldn't want anyone who's trans to be interested in me, or like things like that. And like, I said that to a friend once. I don't know if I really even meant it, but I said it. I mean, clearly I didn't really mean it, but like, I said it to a friend once. Maybe just to see. I feel like I was kind of testing what they would say, because something brought me comfort when they said that they wouldn't mind. Then I was like, okay, well, if they wouldn't mind, then, like, this was a long time ago. I think I was maybe even in my teens. I can't remember. But I was still, you know, just living my own way back then. And, but yeah, like, I don't really think, it needs to be, you know, like, I don't know, like, because I'm trying to think, like, I I don't know if I've ever dated an intersex person, but I don't think it would bother me if I did. Um, but that's me, like, I mean, I've dated non-binary people, I've dated trans people, so I don't think it would be too much of an issue dating an intersex person, even though I know that's not the same thing, but I don't think I'd be concerned. I feel like I would be more concerned, like, with their health, like, if they feel like, their health is in good shape. And I know not everybody's had, like, certain, like, surgical procedures and stuff like that, but if they did have surgical procedures and that kind of thing, I would just hope that they are okay or don't have any complications from anything. And, other than that, I can't really think of, what I would actually have concerns about, like realistic concerns. I don't, I really don't think I'd have realistic concerns with the person. Uh, yeah, with an intersex person. But I could say that my most concern, most of my concerns with dating anybody, um, usually would probably come from, uh, mostly concerns with, um, how shall I say, with other people in society, maybe. I feel like that kind of thing bothers me more. Like, because I've, like, even like the most recent involvement that I've had with someone, I would say, I didn't really go too far out of my way to try to invite them out with others. I mean, I did at one point. I think we went to one event together, but my main crew wasn't there. And then there was another person that I had gone out with. I think that my main crew of friends in San Diego has maybe had uh 4 opportunities to meet people I've dated. 4 separate people. Um and so one of them was one of the, like, an early person um who, I didn't really introduce everyone, and not everybody was there. It would have been one of my friends. Another one of my friends met them, but I'm not talking about my main queer crew of friends. This was just another friend. So another friend had met them, had met this person I was dating way before, and then, me and that person were hanging out individually at an event where one of my other friends was there too, with the other friend who had met this person. And I think they may have gone over to say hi to, like, the person I was dating may have gone over to say hi to the other person they had met, but I wasn't there with them. Just my friend texted me saying, like, hey, she's over here, like, at our table or something, but I don't think she really, I don't know what she said or if she talked to them or what. Because I was, like, on the other side of the venue eating, and just kind of wanted to catch up with her. I was kind of avoiding my friends. They were kind of partying hard on the other side of the venue, and I was kind of like, I just want to talk to her, like, so that's what I did instead. And then well, I don't know if it was and then. I can't tell if this was before or after. There was another person I had invited to one of my birthdays, but I think some of my friends were there a little bit, and then they left early. And then after they left early, they kind of they left early. I think another crew of my friends came, and then that's when the person that I had been dating at some point came through. We hung out, all of us. Then we went to another venue with another group of friends, and this was like a birthday, because I share a birthday with somebody, so we were kind of like 2 shifts. um, So my friends from earlier missed the birthday, the rest of the birthday. They were just there for like drinks in the morning or whatever. And yeah, another birthday, I was at, let me see. Yeah, another birthday. Yeah, when I did karaoke for one of my birthdays. Some of the other people that I know through my the main friend from this queer group of friends. I call them the main one because I met a lot of people through them. So a lot of the people that I met through them all met somebody that I had been dating in the past. Like at this point, me and this person weren't together, but they all kind of met. But we were all doing karaoke, so we weren't really talking. And then we like left right after. And then, which is fine. I was not trying to have some long drawn out thing. And then we just did that, and that was it. And then there was this other person. Well, it wasn't a birthday, but yeah, again, somebody from the crew who I met through this main person. The main person never showed up again. So, I mean, there are a lot of opportunities where the main people either kind of left early or just never came to the events, and that's why they never met these other people. And so, yeah, I do have people in my life that I'm pretty close to that have never met anybody that I've gone out with. And then there are other people who, I would say it's just hard for me to explain what's going on. Now I have definitely witnessed friends and people that I know kind of like changing their tune about certain things. Like I've had a friend that was like transphobic, and a friend that was, a lot of friends that were kind of like homophobic. But then once they realized kind of my situation, their tune kind of changed a lot since then. And so I've definitely noticed that. And, that's a good thing to notice. And then I've also definitely noticed, when I've had, like some kind of, like just it's sometimes just kind of hard to know, like, is somebody going to be inappropriate. Like I've definitely had friends who were like allies, but then it's like they also kind of had like this inappropriateness to them. And just like there is a lot of like, I've noticed too, having to do a lot of like, not training, but like, a lot of people just aren't educated or familiar at all with how to, interact with people who are of just LGBT people. Like they're just not familiar with what to do, what to say. They've never had the think about it before. They've never had anyone that they've really known, or even people that they could talk to about certain things. And they've never felt like they've had to challenge anything about how they do things. They're just kind of black and white, straight and narrow, kind of like, all right, like men, women get together, we get married, and we have sex and have babies kind of thing, and that's basically it. And like, they never think anything outside of that, and then when they meet someone who is completely outside of that, they're curious because it's like, well, they know you. um I don't really know if I like people knowing like sexuality kind of stuff about me before they know me, but I do think it's kind of obvious. Like, I think most people kind of like have some kind of inkling of what's going on, like, especially because of how I dress. Like, I feel like most people are gonna like question my situation. Like, I remember once hanging out with a crew of people that I didn't normally hang out with, and going to, I was there for a little bit, rode in with a friend because we were hanging out beforehand, and I was like, well, I'll just Uber from there because I got plans later. I was gonna go, I was in San Diego, I was gonna go to Rich's. I was just waiting for someone else to tell me when to go there, and so, I kind of told one of my friends, that I wasn't gonna stay all day. I was like, I'll be here from probably like 2 hours. I was like, oh, it was like a picnic kind of vibe. And so I stayed for like 2 hours, and I was like, that's enough to kind of mingle. And I didn't really know the majority of the people, but it was like a work reunion kind of thing, but not people that I hadn't known before or whatever. And so, you know, one of my friends who knew where I was going was kind of like, oh, like, are you leaving now? Are you going to Rich's? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, like, because there's all these people here that I don't freaking know, and like, but they knew I was going there, and so they kind of made like a big deal, and I was like, yeah. And then everybody kind of was joking, like, oh, you're a party animal kind of thing. But I feel like that kind of thing, it doesn't like out you, but it kind of does. Like, why else would I be going to Rich's? Like, it's not really like a place that people make plans to. I don't know, maybe they do. Maybe straight people make plans to just go there for whatever reasons, but I was going there, and I was usually going there. So yeah, my friend was kind of mentioning that, and it was kind of like early evening by that point. And so I was kind of just like, well, at least I'm kind of open about it, but I didn't really want to talk about it too much. I was just kind of like yes or no kind of thing. Like, yeah, I'm going there, but I didn't really want to get too into my whole thing, of what I was going to be doing and who I was going with and all this other kind of stuff. I was just kind of like, let's just leave it alone, you know. And so, yeah, I've definitely had those situations come up, but yeah, I would say that, it kind of can determine who I date or who I introduce out of people that I have gone out with, who I introduce to who. Like, I usually don't try that hard to be bringing people around. And I did have a situation where, some of my friends really, really wanted me to bring somebody around. They kept asking and asking and asking, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And the reason why is because they kind of got nosy and introduced themselves to a conversation that I was having with somebody else on the side. I was not talking to them. I was talking to someone else, saying how much I really like somebody and that I'd move in with them or whatever. But like, it was like hypotheticals. Like, I was kind of talking like, yeah, like, because at that time I thought this person, when they started working, they potentially were going to move out of state or out of the city or whatever. And I was just telling this other friend who knew about this person, I was kind of like, yeah, I would move, I would move. I would move with them, like, because of their because, I wanted to be with them. But it was just because we had such a good vibe, and I didn't really have anything going on. Like, I was just kind of like, ideally I would move. Like, I don't want to move, but I'm like, ideally this is the kind of person I would want to move in with if I had to choose someone. And I guess my other friends kind of overheard that, and they were like, oh, congratulations, you're like dating somebody or like whatever. But I was kind of just like we're going out, but we're not like a couple necessarily. But and then after that point, they kept kind of asking me, like, oh, you can invite them, you can invite them. And I'm then I kind of realized, like, oh, like, that, you know. And I was like, I don't want to explain the whole thing to them. Like, there was, like, this whole scenario of things going on. And I was like, I don't want to explain all this. So I kind of just told them, like, we're not a couple, we go out, but we're not, like, a solid, like, couple. And, I didn't really want to explain more than that. And, I don't really know. I guess one of my friends kind of knew that I wasn't really too comfortable with it because they kept saying, like, if you're comfortable. And I'm kind of like, I don't know. But they would have met them if they would have gone to the other event, which they didn't go to. So it's kind of like, not everyone I know goes to the same stuff. And so there's a lot of, like, some people crossing over, meeting other people never meeting those people. And so far, I think it's mostly been comfortable. But there are some people who haven't met anybody that I've ever gone out with, and I kind of wonder how that would go. And that's why, if I don't think I've dated an intersex person. I'd be cool with it if I did date an intersex person. I'd be cool with the situation, but, I don't know how comfortable I'd be. I don't know how comfortable they'd be with anybody knowing about that status about them. And then I also don't know how comfortable I would be with other people knowing about it. I mean, I definitely think that there are people that I could foresee I would not want them involved or knowing at all. And then there are other people where I would probably be like, okay, like, they're pretty cool. I don't really mind if they know. So yeah, that would probably be my take on it. Like, I don't really know for sure, but that would probably be my take on it. It would be that, I would try to, like, I would try to be pretty, like, definitely, I think it would definitely take a lot of caution, because there's already stuff that you have to explain to people, like, eventually you gotta have some kind of explanation. Like, you don't really have to, but it's like people are gonna ask you stupid questions regardless. And so, like, I've already experienced that, and like I said, not everybody I know has even met somebody that I've dated. Like, a lot of people, I'd say most people I know have never met somebody I've dated, or if they have, they didn't know that I was interested in that person and we eventually started dating maybe after they met, or that I had been dating that person in a previous time and then they met them after I had been dating them. Like, other than a couple people, I haven't really introduced too many people to someone while I was dating them. I think there have only been really, like, three people that I can think of that while I was dating them, I introduced them to other people. And I noticed that, it was not, it was, two were comfortable, one was not. Yeah, and one was not because I introduced someone to a bunch of my church friends, and they just didn't really have a lot of common sense with things and kind of made it awkward. But other than that, I don't know if I have any more to really say about the topic. I mean, that's all I can really think of for right now. Because it's something that would potentially be such a discrete kind of situation that it's kind of hard to really predict, but I don't know. Alright guys, Saturday, May 6th. It's a little after 4 p.m. I am barely about to head over to the gym. Alright, so pulling out of the drive. It is hot. It is hot in here. I think it's just hot in the car though. So I got a black interior car of my car, and it's got leather. I don't know if it's real leather. I think it's real leather. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, I had a pretty good time at the gym yesterday, and as predicted, I did not sleep too good. And that's fine, you know. Sleep doesn't always come easily to me, and it doesn't always come easily, and it didn't come easily, so that's just that. Yes, people walking in the middle of the road as usual. I think people do a lot of urban hiking around this area because it is near some hilly regions, and you know, when the weather's good, especially this time of year, there are a lot of people that seem to be like kind of hiking around, so that's good though, good for them, you know. But yeah, so I'm just trying to stay consistent with the gym, and studying. I had a big, you know, I'm kind of like, pressure's a little bit on, you know. I've you know, set some really good goals toward, you know, I've set some really good goals toward, you know, my timeline for things. It's kind of a little bit of pressure on because there's a bit of accountability now, because I've told a couple people what I'm doing. So because, you know, I've kind of clued in a couple people, I think that puts a little bit more pressure on for me. I don't like this car driving so close behind me. I'm gonna let them go. They kind of let me go, but I don't like them driving so fast behind me. I'm kind of just trying to chill and drive. A lot of open houses this weekend. Crazy, dude. I might go check some of them out on Sunday. I don't really know. One of my friends taught me way back, like around the early college days, about, you know, not really taught me, but like, you know, she used to go out and look at open houses on the weekends, and she said it would really motivate her to like study hard and like, you know, try to, you know, work on her success and career plans and stuff. And I did notice, you know, that does kind of help. It also helps just in general, just to get out of the freaking house more, and just get out of my own head. So, you know, I told my friend this morning, I was like, I'm literally going to have to force myself to go to the gym, which I did do. You know, I did do. I am doing it. I'm on my way there right now. But yeah, like I predicted I was going to be up super late. I was up past 3 a.m. The last time I remember looking at my clock, it was like 3 a.m. And I did take a lot of melatonin, and started getting tired around 12:30 p.m. or so, but it didn't last long. I kind of fought it a little bit and was kind of like being entertained. I got down a rabbit hole of watching this guy eating MREs. I don't know why. Like, I really like kind of cooking videos. I like that kind of video. I like these kind of like dessert videos. It's like this Korean lady, I think, that makes these kind of like beautiful desserts, and like there's not really a whole lot of talking, and they're just like eating. He talks, but it's kind of relaxing. And then there's this other type of video I like where this lady does like canning. It's like she talks about like how she, got by during a war. I think it was the war in Ukraine, like parts of the war in Ukraine, and kind of how she coped, like, and was able to kind of like get access to foods that she preferred. And one method that she used was canning her foods in like jars and things. And so she kind of makes tutorials of how to do canning and stuff. But the thing about that one is that it's not in English, and so it has subtitles in English, so I actually have to like read that one, so I don't really watch it at night. But yeah, sometimes it's just not a good idea for me to be watching stuff at night, like late like that, because I'll just literally stay up and keep watching it. Even though I was dozing off a couple times, I still was like fighting it so I could watch these stupid things. And then I was up really late, and so I was like, who cares, tomorrow's Saturday. I don't do anything Saturdays anyways, unless I'm just getting outdoors. I don't really do anything at all. So because I knew I wasn't going to do anything, I was like, well, what the heck difference does it make? I'll not do anything for a while. So I got up kind of early, not very early, but like 7:30ish, and then around 8:30, I was like, let me like start getting going. I had a what do you call it? Like a ball, like a perfect bar. I didn't eat it early in the morning. I didn't eat till like 10:30, and I wasn't really even hydrating either. But yeah, and then I ate it at like 10:30 or so, and then it kind of hit the spot. It's like 330 calories, and it's got protein. I don't really know the sugar content, but it's good, like when you really don't want to cook, and it's a good kind of like healthy enough-ish kind of thing, if that makes sense. It's like, it's not like pure health food, but it's not so unhealthy that it's like wrecking my goals or anything. So I'll still eat stuff like that. And I didn't have like a full like nutritious meal early in the morning or anything, but I did get off my schedule today a little bit for the morning, but I feel like that was good enough. And then I ate some junk. I ate like just like an Ichiban instant ramen, and I ate a like an organic vegan, no, not vegan, I don't know if it's vegan, it might be vegan. It was just an organic burrito, bean and cheese burrito from Sprouts, from the frozen section. I kind of keep those on stock because they're cheap. They're like under $3, and like they're like 300 something calories. So I had like it's like about 700-800 calories, adding to that maybe like about 330 calories before that. So let's say about 750-ish calories. No, that math is way off. Probably close to like 1,000 calories in all honesty, or just like within like a 2-hour period or so. And then I kind of just knocked out and took a nap. I don't remember if it was 30 minutes or an hour, but I kind of napped for a little while there, and that was nice. It helped. But yeah, I forgot to mention I did get stoned in the morning. I was like, it's 7:30, I don't really care, like, because I was gonna try to sleep more anyways, so I was like, it doesn't really make a difference if I go get stoned. So I basically got stoned, and just got stoned and chilled basically, and watched videos, dozed off, The only thing I don't like about getting stoned early is that it's really hard to kind of get the energy rolling after that. Like, by the time it was like, 2:45, nearing, I think around 2:45 I started having some C4, but I was thinking about it around 1:30 and just was waiting, and then I was like, okay, let me just do it. So I was careful with it. I didn't want to have a lot, but it doesn't take a lot. And then, so I had some C4. It's a pre-workout that I talk about all the time that I use. I never take the full 200 milligrams worth of caffeine, full scoop, but I took enough of it that it kind of got my energy up a little bit after I added a little bit more from what I originally had taken. And so I basically was like, well, let me just do yoga at home. I got in some yoga and stretching for like 30 minutes while I was kind of letting this pre-workout supplement kind of like settle. And then, because it does have to settle a little bit, like, it kind of, for a lot of people, it kind of like activates maybe their stomach, it kind of makes you go to the bathroom. And so I kind of like to get that out of the way before I leave the house, if possible, because it's just more comfortable. Like, I'm not a big fan of like public toilet number twos. Like, I'll do it if it needs to happen, but it's like, if I'm home and I can do it before I leave, I might as well just do it before I leave. And I'm a little off too. Like, usually that would be something that happens before breakfast, but because I didn't get up and have coffee or anything like that, it just, my day is just not a normal day. But I'm like, okay, I'll give myself today to kind of act weird, do strange stuff. I'm debating if tonight I'll go study at the coffee shop or if I'm going to stay home and study. I might actually go to the coffee shop and study because that's what I'm kind of actually motivated to do. So I might just do that. But I don't know. It's easy to say when I have like C4 in my system. It's easy to be like, oh yeah, I want to go do this. And then by the time it's night, like, I'm not going to be studying till like maybe a little after 7:45 p.m. because of the sunset time. So, I've still got a few hours to kind of screw around. So I don't really know. Like, I don't really know for sure what I'm going to do. But I do need to study, though. I've got a practice exam. I might postpone the Sunday one and make my practice exam on Monday. I'd feel more comfortable about that. I'm not trying to stall. It's just I want this practice exam to not be like a practice. I want it to be like a real legit thing. So I want to take it a little more seriously. The one I did this past week, I didn't really take it seriously. I just kind of wanted to see what it was like and see kind of like the feel of it, just dip my toe in the water but not really take it seriously. Like you're not even supposed to get up and go to the bathroom or like leave your desk or anything before that. And I was kind of like, I took it to TMI, but like I took it at a time when I needed to use the restroom. And so I was like, like I already knew, I was like doing it, but like not doing it, if that makes sense. But that's what practice tests are for. It gave me a little bit more comfort with like, realizing what I know, what I don't know as well, what I need to kind of get better at describing. And I think yesterday, like Friday, I didn't do too much studying after doing that exam. I didn't really get back to studying too much like I thought I was going to do. So I think I need like a solid 2 days to prepare. And just preparing tonight wouldn't be maybe enough to take a practice exam for real tomorrow. Like, I don't feel like that would be enough for me. But that's basically all I'm kind of dealing with. Otherwise, I'm just kind of enjoying myself, enjoying the weekend, enjoying the good weather, enjoying that things are going smoothly. It's just a lot of upcoming change. Just trying to keep positive about it and get out of my head about all the negativity about what can go wrong, and oh my gosh, it's like none of it's going to be the end of the world. So I do think it's still going to be possible to maybe take this practice exam before I go to Vegas. And then Vegas will be a nice buffer because I'll either be celebrating doing well on the exam, or I'll be drowning my sorrows because it didn't go well. Either way, I'm comfortable with either of those. So yeah, I don't really know though. I'm still kind of trying to figure it out, like I want to park over here in the shade actually. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna step into the gym in a little bit, and then probably go do a little bit of podcasting. I don't want to spend too much time podcasting this evening, but I'll spend a little bit of time getting some podcasting done, and then kind of get on with my night. Get busy with my night, nothing fancy, no dates, no nothing. It's just kind of chilling, guys. But yeah, I just feel better when I'm just like doing what I need to be doing, like, so yeah, today feels pretty good. Like, I didn't really do a whole lot, but that's the whole thing. Like, Saturdays I don't do a whole lot, and unless I really have solid plans, I'm not doing anything anyways today. So, like, I didn't have plans with anybody, so I don't need to be, like, hard on myself to push. Like, I can give myself a day to, give myself permission to just kind of, like, slack off and not be productive. I think that's perfectly fine. But it is hard to think like that because I think society doesn't really teach that, and even though I grew up in a culture that kind of talks about lifestyle balance and everything, it's still hard to do because looking around, it's like, Southern California, there's a lot of competition in ways like I'm not saying I'm like trying to be better than any specific person or whatever, but it's like just the cost of living to have your independence is such a situation out here. Like, I know what I want, and getting there takes a lot of mental strength and a lot of, just pushing and I'm not saying other states aren't like that, but it's a unique area of the world to live in, because you can't just usually graduate high school and then just like move out, like you kind of have to have a certain level of success or income or whatever you want to call it, financial stability to kind of make it work in a way where you're not like utilizing debt to your detriment and like getting into like unhealthy financial habits. But yeah, I listen to the Ken Coleman show and stuff sometimes. I'll probably listen to that at the gym. Otherwise I need to get the freak in there and get to work. So alright guys, with that, thanks for listening.